Welcome to another Kings of War battle report. The epic quest number 4, Mega Battle. Orcs versus Salamanders and Brotherhood. 4,600 points. The scenario is control. So this year I've expanded greatly my Orc army because of painting a brand new army for the Wildcat Invitational. And it's pretty easy to field 4,600 points. It probably could have fielded 6,000 because I have a bunch more in boxes that didn't even touch, and Lord knows how many unpainted ones. So it starts off with 3 regiments of Morax, all with skull poles, one with the Mead of Madness and one with the Brew of Haste. A horde of Long Axe with a skull pole, a horde of Axe with a Brew of Sharpness and a skull pole, 2 hordes of Great Axe, one with Blessing of the Gods, one with Caterpillar, all with skull poles. A regiment of Gore Riders with the Jesse's Boots of Striding, a legion of Chariots with the Helm of Confidence, a horde of Trolls with Dwarven Ale, 2 Giants, 3 mounted Crushers, 2 Crushers, both with skull poles, one with the Gakamax banner, basically the Wild Charge aura, and one with the Mace of Crushing. Then we had a Crudger on a Winged Slasher with the Sword of Slashing, a God Speaker with Bane Chant, Blood Boil, and Fireball, Gakamack, and finally Upgar the Mad. This is my friend Carl's Order of the Brother Mark Army, and next week when the new book comes out, they are going to get a major boost in power. This one starts off with a horde of men-at-arms swordsmen with veteran command, a horde of spearmen with veteran command, 2 troops of paladin, foot guard, with 2-handed weapons, 3 regiments of Order of the Abyssal Hunt, one with the Brew of Strength, one with the Brew of Sharpness, and all with Aegis fragments. A horde of Ogre Palace Guard with the Staying Stone, 2 heavy arbalists, an exemplar paladin with a Mace of Crushing and lead from the front, an exemplar hunter mounted with the Blade of Slashing and the Gauntlet, a war wizard on a mount with Bane Chant, Inspiring Talisman, and Lightning Bolt 4, a boomstick wizard with just Lightning Bolt 4. Lastly, my friend John Helton, he comes out with his Salamanders, which are perfect for this game because they're a whole bunch of heavy hitters. And the 2 hordes of Ceremonial Guard, one with the Brew of Sharpness and one with the Chalice of Wrath, those were very key units in this battle. A troop of Ancients, 2 troops of Gecko Warriors, a horde of Rhinosaur Cav with Jesse's Boots of Striding, 2 hordes of Tyrants, a Mage Priest on a Raptor with Bane Chant and Fireball, a Clan Lord on a Fire Drake, and lastly a Herald with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness. So for setup on this flank, Sean piled everything over here that was fast. So we have the Crutcher on a Winged Slasher. We have the Gores, the Orc Gores Riders, both Giants, my Legion of Chariots, and then the Regiment of Trolls. I know Trolls suck, but, hey, I had the models. Opposite them, there were both Tyrants hordes, which is optimum, of course. And then one of the Ceremonial Guards, I believe his guy on Fire Drake is behind the army there. In between the 2 hordes there is his, I think is his Mage Priest, mounted Mage Priest, with no Bane Chant and stuff like that. So, and if you can see to the right where the other hand is there, that's where the other Ceremonial Guard unit is. And then Carl's first unit of Knights. Well, here's the real Orc army. Hordes and hordes and regiments of nasty Orcs. Right in the row, there's 2 units of, both of those units of Morax with the speed items are there. One of the units of Orclings is there as well. Finally, behind the both units of Morax is the War Drum to keep them, so they're now -17. And then one of the lone Crushers is there, plus the Orc Crudger that has the aura of Wild Charge. So one of those units could potentially charge 18 inches, which is kind of fun. And then there's 2 hordes of Great Axe side by side, and one on the left has the Blessing of the Gods. The one in the middle has the Potion of the Caterpillar, since there's more trees on that end of the table. Finally, on the right, there with their little red helmets are all of my Kevin Adams long axe. They're really old figures. and then to the right of them is my axe horde with the brew of sharpness to find like that, and then all of Carl's army is just piled close together. So he has a unit of Order of the Abyssal Hunt, and then his swordsman, and then his spearmen, and then he piles everything else in the corner. So he's got the ogres and palace guard, and then he's got 2 units of Order of the Abyssal Hunt, and then a couple of troops of the foot paladins there to kind of act as chaff or follow-up forces. So on the extreme left, I got a better picture of Carl's setup. He had one of his units of troop paladins to kind of act as chaff, and then behind it had 2 Orders of the Abyssal Hunt, and then his wizard, we call it Gandalf Wizard, which has Inspiring Talisman and Bane Chant. And then right to the right of them is his Ogre Palace Guard, a.k.a. my vintage GW Ogres from God knows what early edition. And then to the right of those are both of the Heavy Arbalists. Behind the unit of one of the units of Order of the Abyssal Hunt is also the other troop of foot paladins, and they were used as a follow-up in case those guys didn't break them, and then they could charge in and do their damage. And then finally, over on the extreme left, he had his Exemplar Hunter, which was out of position. He should have been on the other side next to these ballistics, because you figure where I was going to come to right off the bat with him. So I don't even think I had any heroes on my extreme right. There's the rest of Carl's troops on the what you see in both the Heavy Arbalist and then the swordsman, and finally the spearman, and then over to the left is the swordsman, and last is his other Order of Abyssal Hunt. It's kissed up right against the ceremonial guard. We were playing on an 8-foot table, so we had a little bit more space, so that 4,600 points on a 6-foot probably pretty tight. So what John had, he had his unit of ceremonial guard here, and then a little unit of geckos, but with his Rhinosaur Cav behind him, and then the other ceremonial guard unit. I think those had the brew of sharpness, the one on the extreme left there. And then, like I said before, he had 2 units of tyrants and the fire drake. I'm not sure where his Lachilodons are. I don't know if they're behind stuff or I just can't see them in the picture, but I know he had 2 Lachilodons floating around somewhere. So I had given Sean the very hard job of getting rid of the Salamander menace, because those Salamanders are a tough army. And so we put a bunch of tough stuff up against them. And when they won the roll for turn 1 and gave it to us, we were just ecstatic, because it was going to be so much easier for us to do things. But on the other hand, you can see that the table is focused between those 2 pieces of impassable terrain. And that was going to be a lot of battles are going to happen around those 2 pieces of terrain. It's just because we didn't put very much terrain on the table, just because of we had so many models. I mean, it just seemed like it'd be overkill to just fill it with terrain as well. Yeah, I was really happy to get the first turn. So first thing I did was I zipped 2 of the crushers out there to try to take out the ballistas on the next turn. And then all the other guys got to move. Since we had no really impeding terrain, we got to move maximum distance forward. We just made sure to stay out of range of those units of knights. And so that's what I mean about getting the first turn on this one. This was really good, because it kind of jams them up. And like I said, it puts them in a good position. My job this game was to hold against Carl's stuff, while Sean tried to take out the Salamanders. And Sean had most of the big stuff, most of the points, and I had just a couple of infantry hordes to try to do that. Over here, Sean was moving basically everything from that little gap between the 2 units of Orclings all the way over, and he just moved everything boldly to support his heavy attack on the left. And the 2 fast units of Morax are moving up along in support, because they'll be able to charge almost as fast as the units next to them, especially with the Aura of Wild Charge. And the Aura guy also had the Sacred Horn, so even that unit of Great Axe that you see in the foreground would also have Wild Charge as well. You can see Sean's advance here, everything. I mean, we've poured a lot of points into that corner of the table to try to take out John. And at least most of the faster stuff is over there anyway. I apologize for the cards, but in a game this big, we had to have the cards. Otherwise, we would never remember any of the items that we had. So I brought them all out. Now, the couple of things in this game that I'll give you some hints about. First is that I made the orc list 4,600 points out of as one giant army. And so there's no duplicate magic items in it. And we're fighting against two different lists, which of course now have duplicate magic items in them. Which gives them a little bit of an advantage. Well, the last thing that we did is we set up the entire orc army and then just let them set up however they wanted. I mean, in full view of our stuff. So the whole goal here was to have a good, fun game. I mean, if we'd just kind of set it up back and forth, it's hard to get the spacing and stuff like that for them. And so we tried to give them a lot of advantages in this game to stomp our face in. But this is Orktoberfest, and we want and Sean and I want the Orcs to win. So on the Brotherhood turn one, I think they were just stunned at the sheer wall of greenness in front of them. And but all they did really was shuffle up in range a little bit. And then one of the troops of foot paladins moved forward to maybe do some counter chaff to my orclings there. Both heavy ballistas and the mages fired. One of the crushers, he had just taken a single wound from one of the shots, and then the orclings over here had taken 3 wounds from, I guess, a lightning bolt. But there was nothing was wavered, so I was pretty happy with the end of the first turn. Last game, Carl just shot the crap out of me on the first turn that I played against him. And this was a lot more average. But then again, I think maybe shooting the ballistas, I probably would have shot him at the Morax instead of shooting them at those lone heroes, because the lone heroes are just so hard to hit with regular shooting. So with my first turn, or second turn actually, I went ahead and charged the orclings into his paladin foot guard and surprisingly wavered them. That was a good result. And then both of the crushers charged into his heavy ballistas and took them out. And now I was in his backfield there. Not too good a shape though, because there's a exemplar hunter and an exemplar foot paladin over there to beat on me if I get too close. So I think my guys are going to pay for it with their life in this situation. But I just moved the other everything else up as far as I can to chaff things up, and I just didn't want to get close to those knights where I could get double charged. A single charge into my unit of axe would be okay, but a double charge would not be good. So over on this side of the table, Sean went ahead and charged his crusher into the unit of geckos. And the whole idea here is, of course, to keep things from moving forward and just jam them up. And then also all of his chaff have moved up here. All the orclings have moved up and formed a little formation there to keep things where we can avoid the knights charging through, or if he does charge, he's going to have to be at a wonky angle in case something bad happens. So that was all good. Over on the left, everything, just that huge mass of junk just moves forward. I think just out of range of the ceremonial guard is where he was at. And then I believe in his turn, and I'm not positive, I think that when he rolled his wild charge in the next turn, I think he rolled ones for both of his units of tyrants. So that kind of sucked for him. But like I say, we got him. We're sitting there piled him into the corner. It's just that there's so many points on both armies piled into Sean and John's side of the table. It's going to be a bloodbath over there once it gets cranked up. Yeah, here's a close-up of Sean's advance. Pretty, you're playing with a lot of points when you're using hordes of trolls as your chaff unit. So anyway, everything's trying to squish between these two pieces of impassable terrain, and that's what makes this whole little corner interesting, because John's just as squished by his own units and Carl's units pushing him against the table. So this is going to be a true tunnel fight, as I call it. So Carl was trying to get out of the box I put him in, so he ends up charging one of his orders, the Abyssal Hunt, into my orclings to destroy them. Everything else just kind of moved up. Over on the left side, his spearmen go ahead and charge my unit of orclings. It also allowed his Ogre Palace Guard to charge into my long axe, and that's not going to be good. Those guys were, those Ogre Palace Guard are tough customers. One of his foot paladin went ahead and charged into my already damaged crusher, and his exemplar hunter starts moving over to try to get rid of the other crusher. I'm trying to get in there and zap his mage so it doesn't throw any more of those stupid lightning bolts at me. So, of course, the Orclings easily are destroyed by Carl's knights, and now his paladins are ready to fight again. The Ogre Palace Guard really whiffed. I think they did 2 or 3 wounds. Now, they were hindered, but they shouldn't have whiffed. They were still hitting on 4s and 3s with a whole bunch of attacks. But it was just some bad dice rolling. I had the same thing happen last game when I charged into them and thinking I'm going to do 10 or 12 wounds and do 2. Over in the middle, his exemplar paladin, I think went ahead and wavered my one of my crushers, and so that battle's going on now. We'll have to see what happens next turn. It's going to be nasty with all these all my units in charge range of those all these troops here. The battle in the middle is going a little more slowly just because of the. I think Carl did charge my other unit of Orclings there, and that's all that's going to do is open up a charge for my Great Axe, which is never a good thing. It's allowing Great Axe to charge you. I thought I was mistaken about how poorly the Ogre Palace Guard performed, but now I found the picture that shows them with just 2 wounds. I could not believe it. Those guys are usually just kick ass so bad. So I don't know what happened on the left flank as much as the right flank, obviously, because there's a huge wall in between us. But anyway, I think he charged the Lacheladon into the trolls to jam them up, and then the ceremonial guard kind of angled to open. So in other words, if we hit them and don't break them, we're going to open up a flank charge from the tyrants or the Lord on Fire Drake. And I believe the other little yellow dot right there is another unit of Lacheladons for chaff. So this is going to be a intense battle. The only thing that I see that's might be troubling for John is the approach of the infantry over here on the left, and because they're fairly quick with the Brew of Haste, and one of them has there, and plus they have the Wild Charge aura, so that could be problematic for him. It might have been better if we would have put one giant over on this side of the rubble, and then that way he could have been threatening the flank of those ceremonial guard. It just didn't look right at the time, but now that I see it, it would have been a better plan. Over here on the right for my turn, I charged the unit of Abyssal Hunt, Order of the Abyssal Hunt, with the Axe Horde, and then the Morax unit. Also used Upguard there to throw Bane Chant on the Axe Horde. So that's going to hit a ton. Down here, I had the ASB with loot. You can kind of see him with his little card beside him, moving up, and he's going to throw Bane Chant on the long axe. You can see my war drum is behind the long. I really wish that in retrospect that the war drum would have been to the right over there, closer to the Morax, but that could do nothing about it at this point in the game. And then as you can see, my Great Axe Sword slams into the swordsman, and that's going to be a bloody mess. So yeah, my guys wipe out the Order of the Abyssal Hunt very easily, and now are just moving to consolidate their position. You can see the one behind the Axe Horde, and that's because Upgar did a 1 when he rolled all those dice for there. So I've got Life Leech 1 on him this turn. Down here to the left, down here on the left with the Bane Chant and everything, the Morax easily took out the Palace Guard. What you didn't see there, and you can kind of see it because of his card, I did charge the other Crudger into it, and he has the Mace of Crushing, and he managed to do 4 wounds by himself, so that always helps out the cause when you're doing those kinds of things. And then now I'm poised to fight his spearmen, or his spearmen can flank charge my great axe. I did a lot of damage to that unit of swordsmen, but I did not kill him this turn. But I mean, I did a ton of damage to him. It just did not work out that I could kill him. So with Sean's masterful use of chaff, he throws one of the Orcling units into the knights, and no, it's not going to hurt them, but it's just funny to hold them up for a while. He also used one of the, I think with the Brew of Haste, or to charge into those ceremonial guard, and the reason why is not because you really wanted to charge the ceremonial guard. He was really using them like super chaff. Just wanted to bang on them a little bit for some wounds, and then lighten them up for this unit of great axe that's about to send. And there's also another unit of Morax coming up. So plus I forgot, somewhere in there is a crusher or crudger, and he can go in there and throw his shots into the fight too. So we're just trying to isolate these units one at a time and get them. But Sean really had to go forward to support me this turn, or I was going to get charged in the flank by knights. This flank is a complete mess. It looks like the chariots go ahead and charge into the ceremonial guard, and maybe I think the boar boys did too. But I don't know if Sean realized there was ceremonial guard and had phalanx, so that's not going to be as good for us as we thought it was going to be. His trolls sit there and I think they smashed the Lacheladon, and then that's going to open them up for a flank shot into his ceremonial guard and get rid of them. And the other giant comes sneaking around the fight here. I don't know what he was doing, what he's looking at, but maybe that flank is there. So he's going to try to provoke Johns to charge out with his Rhinosaur Cav, and then maybe close the door on them. Over on the left, it looks like that the Crutcher on Wing Slasher charges the Tyrants from the front, and then Gakamak charged the other one. And I know that sounds like a bad exchange, but when you're playing with this many points, everything's chaff. You just push it out there to keep, so that you can keep focused on whatever mission. In this case, we're playing control, so we're trying to, of course, push into the other side of the table at the same time. In retrospect, we probably should have left some of our chaff units back in the back here, or I should have bought some extra just garbage units to leave back there, like axe troops or something, just to hold these sections behind us. So in their turn, the swordsman countercharged my unit of great axe. You can see that his boomstick wizard had backed out of the fight over there because he's wavered. You can see that little yellow dice next to him. The spearmen go ahead and charge the long axe this turn, and we'll have to see what the result that is. I don't give them very much chance of hurting that long axe unit. I believe the Order of the Abyssal Hunt and the Foot Paladins charge into my Axe Horde on the right. And Axe Hordes, they're very tough just because of the armor 5, and this one's particularly tough because of having Brew of Sharpness on it. So its return whacks are usually pretty substantial. I was mistaken. The Paladins just charged into the Morax and did 6 points of damage to them. The Order of the Abyssal Hunt did a very predictable 12 points of damage. I mean, that's almost exactly average what you would expect from the Order of the Abyssal Hunt. But now it's going to be my turn to throw some retribution back at them. The Spearmen only managed to do a couple of wounds to the unit of Long Axe. And then the Swordsmen do a respectable 7 wounds back to the unit of Great Axe. That was a pretty good rolls there. Kind of funny here to see that some of these the troops you see in the battle are some of that age of GW stuff, where a lot of bright reds and stuff like that, solid colors. And Carls are kind of vintage of that era too, and so it's kind of funny to see them all out on the table again with all the colors. Here in the middle, the Ceremonial Guard went ahead and annihilated the Morax unit. Kind of knew that was going to happen because they just have so many swings, and Morax do not have a lot of armor. On the other hand, the Rhinosaur Cav failed to break the other unit of Morax, even though he popped his Boots of Striding there. now we're set up for some more charges this turn to see what we can do to that big unit of ceremonial guard. We've got to get rid of those. Those are the linchpin of that side of the table, and so we're trying to concentrate a lot of stuff in getting rid of them. It's so confusing over here. I can't even tell what's going to happen. So it looks like that the Fire Drake went ahead and charged into the Boar Riders. I thought that they had charged into the fight with the ceremonial guard, but they had not. And then looks like Gakamak got finished off by the Tyrants, but the Winged Crudger guy must have survived his unit, his encounter with a horde of tyrants. But I'm guessing that won't last but another turn. There you go. That's a better picture. It looks like that the chariots held back from their fight, and I think maybe even the Gores, even though they took 11, somehow survived the fight with the Fire Drake. So we'll have to see what happens next turn. It's so clustered over here. I cannot tell. I mean, I kept looking. I mean, I'm trying to fight over here in the middle and to the right. And then over here, Sean has just got stuff going everywhere. I couldn't. I mean, it was just so, especially all those big wings and big models, they don't sit well close together either way. Here's just a view of the entire battlefield at this point. If I really was designing an army to play control, I would have some sort of other chaff units that you could just leave behind. You could get more Orclings. You could get little troops of Axe. Matter of fact, you could probably leave the Orclings behind and use troops of Axe in the front as hard chaff. So just a thought on this scenario. Sometimes, you get like we are. We're pushing so aggressively across the table that we forget that the points that we're leaving points behind us. And late game, sometimes, somebody could sneak across with a flyer or something like that and upset your plans. So here in the middle, the Great Axe Horde charges into the Ceremonial Guard. And the Morax beforehand had done quite a bit of damage to him. A unit of Orclings goes ahead and charges into the Knights to keep them honest this turn. And I believe another Orcling unit charges the Rhinosaur Cav in the flank. I know that's kind of laughable, but you had to do it to get him out of the way, I believe. I think that was the reason why. And, of course, the Morax countercharge into the Rhinosaur Cavalry. And It's just we're trying to, like I say, we're trying to isolate these ceremonial guard units as best we can. Over on this flank, nothing's really happening different except a whole bunch of countercharges because we are stuck in, as they say. Right here, we are poised to win this game, I think. And of course, my old friend returns. I haven't had a bad one in a while, and here it is. There's a nice Snake Eyes after I do an ungodly amount of damage. They were actually, the Knights were devastated. I'd done so much damage with the units I had here. So it was crazy. I just could not believe I rolled Snake Eyes. Same thing, the Great Axe. I think I had that horde up to like 29 or some absurd amount of numbers, and then rolled Snake Eyes again. I was just like, are you kidding me? I mean, this would have been to bust through the air and then bust through the night. The game was over essentially. But because of the Snake Eyes, it's going to take some twists and turns after this. Thankfully, the Morax did not get Snake Eyes, and then they turned to attack the flank of the Knights on the following turn. I did manage very decent damage to the Spearman Horde, but not enough to break them or even waver them. Over here, our plan has worked to perfection, and both ceremonial guard hordes are gone. And so now that's leaving us an ability to do some other things. Maybe to come over here and help me since I got stranded by Snake Eyes. So where are my Morax? That's a good question. This is why I was regretting not having my War Drum over on this side of the table. I really didn't need it with as good as the Long Axe are, and the two wizards shot the Morax off the table before they could do any damage. And so that's going to allow his, their devastated knights and his paladin foot guard to go back into my unit of axe. So then I look here and I said, well, it's a good reason that the war drum is up here. Carl turns around after I just knocked the crap out of his snake item, turned around and jabs my great axe up to, I think, 15 or 16 wounds, and I just barely held. He also did 4 more to my unit of long axe, and so now I was like I said, the snake eyes really got me because there shouldn't be anything there in the middle, and there shouldn't be anything here on the right, and now I'm stuck fighting another similar unit here where I don't know if I can get rid of them or not in time to do any more scoring. With the ceremonial guard done, the great axe just turns toward the flank of Carl's knights. He also moved one of the orc god speakers over, I guess, to throw fireball or something at him. And then the trolls move up, and the giant, I don't know if they charged, if the giant charged the rhinosaur calves this turn, or if I can't tell just from looking at it. But we're trying to get rid of that unit of rhinosaur calf. It looks like his Lord on Fire Drake is free to roam now because I think everything over there's dead. This turn there was no snake eyes nonsense, and the orcs did what they do. They took the swordsmen off, they took the spearmen off, they took the knights off, and we were in good shape as far as some unit strength here. I don't know why his knights got to charge me in the flank. Surely I could have turned to face them. I don't really think it would have mattered anyway because I was up to 16 wounds. It wouldn't have taken but a stiff breeze to knock me out anyway. So that's going to happen there. Jean has secured a section of the table, and I'll explain that in a minute. The Rhinosaur Cav is gone. It looks like there's still one unit of Tyrants and the Lord on Fire Drake left over there battling. All right, the Lord on Fire Drake, he just jumps over to try to mess with this section of the table. John has a unit of Tyrants there that's going to handle that end of the table. And I think the trolls had turned around to fight the Tyrants. I don't know. We really didn't have much left over here either side, and so it was just kind of hard to get in position to do anything. So they're fighting for their life. The Paladin Foot Guard got the Axe Horde up to 14. Thank goodness we had a little bit of life leech on us to get some of those points back. The Exemplar Hunter, he goes down this turn because I believe I charge in with the entire horde of long axe that are bane chanted into him along with the Crudger there, and I think we wipe him out this turn. And I guess this late game, I forget, we probably could have overran and maybe even got into the mages behind there, but I was stupid. So the Morax turn to deal with the knights that Carl has that slaughter my great axe horde. They won't slaughter this unit of Morax. I just want to point out, if you're keeping score, that the Morax have now killed a horde of Palace Guard, or Ogre Palace Guard, have now killed a horde of Spearmen, have now killed the Exemplar Hunter, and have taken a lousy 4 points of damage the whole game. They have been just exemplary this game, to steal a word from the other sides of the table. But they have just kicked butt this whole game, and now they're turning just in case they're needed again. So the way we did this scenario, since we're on an 8-foot table instead of a 6-foot table, we actually divided it into 8 2-foot by 4-foot sections. So the two middle sections, if you're on the left side of the middle, it was 2 points. If you're on the right side, so basically if you had the middle, you got 4 points. And so what happened with this game is that John's end over there, because of his unit strength with his Tyrants and his Dragon, managed to get 2 points there. One for the other, this corner that you can't see back here, and then the one that's over there. Sean had moved his great axe. So you could see where the line is right down the middle. Sean had moved his great axe horde into that section. So now we have 2 points there. And what you don't see just off camera is my hero long axe unit was in the position. He was enough of his unit was in to gain the other section of 2 points. So there's 4, and they've got 2 over here on the left. And on the right over here, I have another horde over there to give us 6. Is that right? No, 5. And so they've got 2 over here, and then Carl's silly knights go zinging over across the table on the last turn to give them 2. So we win very narrowly, 5-4. And it was easy this game to get involved in the not playing this scenario because we were just having fun smashing stuff. But Anyway, well fought game, 5-4, dang near draw, and for a couple of inches it would have been a draw. So, good job, guys. Good job, everybody. This was a blast. I really like playing these mega battles every once in a while. The real reason is because they're more social than just playing each other. Because you can banter back and forth, and you've got 4 times the banter on the table as besides than normal. And the games, they don't not quite as tactical as other games, but it is a good excuse to get bunches of big, heavy units that maybe you don't use so much, and then put them, because you're going to do what I call tunnel fight, which means you don't have a whole lot of flanking room in these games, and so you have to be able to fight straight ahead, and so that means your chaff needs to line up. You need to stagger things, stuff like that, and that's what I call tunnel fighting, which is if you're playing in a big cave, you can't. There's no flanks. You're stuck against it. And in this case, that we also had some terrain here that caused the tunnel fight over on the other flank. So it was a lot of fun. The left flank was so confusing where Sean and John were. I don't even know what happened. I looked up, and all of a sudden everything's gone on both sides, and I'm like, what happened? Over here on the right flank, unfortunate Snake Eyes did not help the cause over here, because we should have easily just blown this whole side away without the Snake Eyes in there, and losing a whole bunch of unit strength late game just because of that. That did not help the cause. I was just fortunate that the long axe were actually on the other side of the table. Yeah, I know they don't look like it in this picture because I think I actually moved them, but they were actually on the other side of the table, which took it from a draw to a win. And so that was really cool that this long axe unit had killed so many units and now basically helps win the game. It's only appropriate for them. There's some old Heartbreaker guys, and I did order a couple more. I run 24 in a horde, so right now I'm using a commander, a flagger, and probably really needed just one, honestly, because I could just throw a drummer in there as well, to add the full command to them from the old GW days. But I like the command on them and the banners and stuff, so that's no big deal. But getting a couple more is going to make them look better even. So I really like those models. They're kind of old and clunky looking, but they're fun. And one of these days I may touch them up and use them in a real game. And it's not just a goof off game like this. But again, really, I think I've got a group of long axe that I could use made out of plastics, and then some of my old orc biggins. So I don't know. It's probably just easier to put some new ones together. I think I've got enough spear arms and stuff, and a couple of people have offered me spear arms for them in case I really do want to put together a brand new horde of long axe. But for right now, just goofing off like this, these are fine. As far as all the armies, I really thought the Salamander army fought hard. When you have those tyrants and the Radasorkav and the general, and plus the Lakelodons for chaff/shooters, that is a tough out any way you look at it. And, we put the balance of our points on that side of the table just to deal with John's Salamanders. My job was as a holding action and not to give up these table sections down here on this end. So that was a tough fought battle over there. And I think actually, if you come up with the unit strength, that there basically was a draw on that end of the table, because Sean ends up with 2 points and they ended up with 2 points. So that's well done. The one that got us was Carl sneaking forward with that unit of knights, and we couldn't do anything about it that late in the game. And he moved in and grabbed the section on this side of the table, which was tragic, but it didn't matter in the end. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the battle. Like I say, it was a lot more fun, just in the idea that it's just weird to see people using Sean especially was using big expensive regiments as chaff, so to speak, just because and hordes as chaff, because we had nothing else to use them for. But there were just so many points in the game that if it was under 200 points, it was expendable. So basically in this game, I think everything was expendable. So that was a lot of fun. The one unit in charge of Morax into the ceremonial guard, it looked kind of in vain, but he did 8 wounds to him, which is plenty nice. I mean, they have a high leadership, but that's what set him up so that the Great Axe could finish him off on the next turn. Because the Great Axe rolled in with Bane Chant, hitting on 3s and 2s. That is wicked mean. So, and that does the end of the ceremonial guard. But that was really an interesting flank over there. On this flank, I just did what I wanted to do, which is, like I said, hold up all of Carl's knights. And I knew that my hordes could take hits from one hit from one unit of knights, but I knew I couldn't take hits from 2 things at once. And when he was wailing on me with the paladin foot knights and the knights, that was rough. I mean, he didn't manage to accumulate a lot of wounds. But Upgar with his life leech thing really helped a lot. I think I got 5 or 6 wounds back with life leech during this game. So that was a significant help. Otherwise, I think I would have lost my axe horde at the same time because of the wounds. But I mean, at the end of the game, they were at 12, but at one time they were up higher than that, and that was just because of the life leech from Upguard. I'd never used Upguard before, but really an interesting model, because I usually scramble at some of these games for a inspiring source, and Upguard's as good as any. I mean, he inspires. He's got a little bit of offensive spells, but he's got a really good Bane Chant / life leech thing that is really a good support character. Much more so than just having another ASB back there to give inspiring. So anyway, thanks for watching the battle report. This is the next one I'll do will probably be with the new Clash of Kings book, and with some different and interesting units on the table. I may even paint up some new stuff depending on what's in the book. But I'm going to take a break for a week because I'm going to a family reunion next week, and so there'll be no games.